I think it's worth saying, like, it's too early to review the beta, so to speak.
Well, of course,
we'll be back with that. But what I mean by that is I would like very fast impressions, like me so far of what I played before this, and I want to play a lot of Crucible. It still feels very familiar. I want to repeat that. Like, it's definitely Destiny.
Yep.
Campaign, though, was feeling really good now that they've tied together stuff for me. So that's my first, like, all right, man, if they can keep this pace, I always kept saying that before, but now that I have tied more together, if they can kind of keep that up. There was only that big wave around where I asked, like, do those guys just keep coming at you in the middle of the tower? But overall, that is something I did not experience in Destiny personally, and not much at all. That feeling of progression. So the campaign's feeling like standout. The rest feels very familiar, but good, tight. So I don't know. That's where I'm at with it.
That's a really good point, friend. The fact that the narrative in the campaign, it all kind of makes sense. You are actually motivated as a character to continue the storyline. That's something we didn't necessarily get in the first game. We kind of did, but not to this level. We're like, oh, hey, Gaul, this guy is taking your light. It's time to kick his butt.
Yeah. And I guess before we sign off, there is that conversation about how did the test of Destiny 2 launch go itself, right? So there was thousands, hundreds of thousands of people on Twitch watching today, right? It was a lot of people. I don't know if you guys did a number count, but it was hundreds of thousands of people were watching. And it's something important to remember that this is only one console.
Right? Yeah.
That's true. Today,
point.
tomorrow,
Xbox is tomorrow.
Right. And I think that something is going to be really interesting is the big test is going to be on the 21st, I believe, when it's not the pre-orders, right? When how many people sign into their PlayStation, sign into their Xbox, and choose to download Destiny.
Yeah.
That's going to be an interesting day to see what happens when, the client is available for everybody and maybe they're not a fan of Destiny or they've heard about it or whatever and they're going to start downloading it. I feel like that's going to be the really big test as to whether or not this beta has been successful for Bungie.
Yeah, I got a few contacting servers, nothing that interrupted me, and there was like a few little bugs. Yeah, it did say contacting, and it just came right back. It was actually when it was loading in those other players in the tower.
Yeah,
I believe.
That's when we hit the wall too.
And then
there's about 10 minutes at the beginning at 10 o'clock where people were getting errors.
Yeah, this was literally just about 4 p.m. our time, Pacific time. So a little bit of that, and then I was gonna say I did get a bug with Akora. Like I went and that moment she like smashes the Cabal.
Yeah,
I showed up and was just kind of watching, and then all of a sudden they like popped in as if she threw the Nova. I never saw it, but like whatever. This is totally normal for a beta, but meaning they got to hash out some of this, including the servers, like you're saying. Sure. So it'll be really interesting to see if there's a queue. People were kind of asking about that. They're like, is there going to be a queue again?
CJ was literally playing right next to me. I had not a single problem, but then I watched he hit a black screen at one point. But that was his only problem. Everything else was pretty smooth.
I got in right away and was immediately playing and just. I saw some people were having issues online, but it seemed like a big step up from what happened or how we saw in Destiny 1. I feel like there was a lot fewer people complaining online about not being able to get in. It's just really cool to see the game maturing, the back end maturing, the network maturing, and it makes me hopeful that the D2 launch will be smooth and there won't be a bunch of people,
You just jinxed it. It's not I'm
sorry. You can blame me.
But you're right. Friday's the big test. This is, there's also the reason for early access. It's not just to incentivize pre-orders. They don't want too many people hopping on yet.
They're doing Friday's a stepped release so that their teams at Bungie can figure out how to handle that server load.
It'll be a very busy weekend for them, though. So
I think they did it. But, if I was to grade them today, they hit all the high marks. They kept me engaged. I knew I was coming here to be on the to be on your show, but I was like playing until the last possible
second, of course.
And so they got me engaged. They got me surprised by the story, and I had very few technical difficulties.
Yeah, me too.
So right there, I'm not finding anybody in PvP right now that's super laggy. Occasionally,
none of that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. So it feels like they're getting really high marks right now for this beta.
Day one. For day one.
We'll
see Xbox and so on.
Soon.
Do you want to know where Fran gets all of his hair care products? Then subscribe to youtube.com/Fireteam Chat for more. Actually, we just talk about Destiny.